Welcome to the Junk Drawer Mamas with your hosts Deena Christina and Christina Queen. We are so glad you're here with us as we sort through the drama and the trauma of life's hidden struggles to uncover hope and healing with a side of humor on this roller coaster ride we like to call extreme parenting. Whether you're raising a child or a teen with special needs, dealing with challenging behaviors, tackling addiction, mental health issues, or working through the trauma associated with foster care, it's a lot, and we get it. But you don't have to do this alone. So grab a cozy chair, settle in, and let's take this journey together.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Junk Drawer Mamas podcast. I'm Deena, and I'm here with my co-host, Christina, and we are here for episode 16. Woohoo! Can you believe it? We're on episode 16 already.
Yeah.
Yep. So this time we are digging into the junk drawer, the same junk drawer item that we talked about last episode. So if you did tune into last week's episode, we talked about really creating an intentional summer for our kids and for ourselves. Because if you are a mama like we are, of lots of kids or special needs kids, or a mom in an extreme parenting situation, summer can be a challenge. I think summer can be a challenge for most moms, whether you have extreme situations or not. Sometimes we dread summer coming because we've got the kids around more often, and we really just kind of dug into our own stuff and our own challenges that we dealt with our own kids, feeling like this dread that comes and wanting to be very intentional about making summer fun, not just for our kids, but for us too. And we even talked about if you're a mom that, works out of the house, what does that look like for you if you're working out of the house and you have a special needs child, and how do you still make the summer season where you are with your children more, something that's enjoyable. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be out doing some fun activity every single day. It's how do you manage the household when you are together more often, or the kids are home more often, especially if you work. I don't work outside the house, but I work in the house. So my daughter wants to be outside all the time, and I can't always do that. So how do we manage that? And obviously, first and foremost, one of the most important things that we talk about on this podcast is the wellness and well-being of the mom. That's what we do. We talk about how to help you, mama, to be the best version of yourself, thriving in all areas of your life so that you actually can do these things that are very challenging. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And Christina and I really kind of dug a little deeper into what does that actually look like. So we shared our stories last time, but we want to kind of give a little bit more in-depth look at what is it going to look like to be intentional this summer. And Christina came up with a lot of really cool ideas. And we want to tell you some fun things that are coming up with this summer challenge that we're going to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Christina, and she's just going to share a little bit about her little brainstorm ideas of what we can do to help us mamas out there that are going to be dealing with some stuff that comes up in the summer that we don't have to deal with through the rest of the year, but we also want to make it a lot of fun. So again, welcome. We thank you guys for joining us. And Christina, share what you want this to be.
Well, so some of the things we've been discussing have been, honestly, backtrack to spring break. I think most of us have just come through spring break with the kids and talk about a reality check there. In that whole long week
I'm only
that
laughing
the kids
because
were
we
here.
had a long conversation, a decompression conversation yesterday about all the chaos that has been happening left and right. And I didn't know she was going through what she was going through, and she didn't know what I was going through. And thank God we have each other that we could just I need help. Anyway, so that's what she's talking about.
It has
why
been. So, obviously, I came into this thinking this is going to be great. This is going to be a week of, we had opted not to go anywhere for spring break, but I wanted to do spring cleaning. And while I'm not, a huge fan of cleaning, it's not like it's my favorite thing to do. I was like looking forward to getting this done. And of course, my plans got flipped upside down day one of spring break, and it already did not look the way I wanted it to look. And so, of course, I started to get frustrated and like, oh, this is not working. How am I going to do this with all the kids and all the stuff that we do? And so I think it was just a peek into my summer. and what that could look like if I don't get a grasp on this now and start coming up with
Mm.
some good ideas, just for all, not just entertainment, not just fun things to do, but like just the basics, just the small stuff. I told Deena, like sweating the small stuff. Like we're talking about just um daily clothes, keeping up with the laundry, keeping up with like kids staying home from school. Now we've added what 2 meals a day. Usually they have breakfast and lunch if you don't pack, which I don't pack for my kids. That's just one more thing I'll have to do. So they eat at school. They eat at school. Um, so preparing breakfast now for all the kids, preparing lunch for all the kids, and of course dinner. And what that can look like if I don't have that pre-planned, and um, but the fun stuff, just all the realities of what it looks like when your kids are home full time again, and not getting overwhelmed because, let's face it, when they're at school, it gives you that, those so many hours to maybe catch up on some of the things that you need to do without a kid, chasing you around the house, and, you turn around, you got a kid under you or kids under you.
Mhm.
And so you don't get as much done when they're around usually as what you can when they're at school. So rethinking maybe the way our time is spent while they're there, so that we don't end up in those situations like what I did in spring break with, well, what am I going to do with the kids? Because now I can't clean because everybody's here in this space. And had I thought it out ahead of time, there's a lot of things I would have done different.
Probably not
And
clean when all your kids are home making a mess.
right. But maybe just things for their entertainment,
Yeah.
having lunch and some snacks already pre-ready for them so that I didn't have to keep stopping to try to figure things out, just silly stuff that
Now, were you
it
going to
made
include
me,
them in the spring cleanup? Did you give them like task
heck
lists to
yeah.
do? Okay.
Oh yeah.
You can make
This
that
ain't all,
fun too.
this is not all me. I'm like, yeah, no, everybody. But that being said, there was some fun had. I've got like this little board that I have up where jobs available board, so I could
Oh,
put on
that's
post-it
cool.
notes. This job pays this amount. That job, hey, I mean, I don't want to do it all, and I don't mind paying for the help. I mean, I'm not paying $100 a job, but when you're a kid, $5 goes a long way.
Do
10
they
bucks
fight
goes a long
over it? I
way.
want that one. I want that one.
Yeah,
That's
they have. And
brilliant.
but there's also kids that'll partner up, and they partner up real well. My 12-year-old's like, "No, I want this one." And my 13-year-old's like, "Yeah, I'll take this one." And they work well together. So they partner up, and they're like, "How much are we getting for this job?" And
That's
I
right.
mean,
They already have it
honestly,
spent before they've got the money
right.
earned.
What are we I do have to be careful with doing things like that though, because then I've got one that's like, I'm like, "Go clean up your bedroom. What am I going to get?" Well, nothing. It's your bedroom. You have to
Right,
clean it.
right. There's no
So,
allowance for things that are
yeah.
required of you. It's the
Right,
extra
exactly. I'm
stuff.
like, "Nothing, buddy. That one's your job. You have to do that." But
Mm-hmm.
I do not allow them to take a paying job, a job that's paid, unless their chores are already done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the prerequisite, I guess, to getting to choose a job. Your regular chores have to be done. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, so we did have some fun with that, and they earned a little bit of money and to spend and stuff. But had I thought this through, it could have worked out a lot better than what it did. It could have gone a lot smoother, and it would have been a lot less headache for me. It would have been a lot more enjoyable for me and the kids, and we would have gotten a lot more done. I would have gotten a lot more accomplished. So that being said, I've started, thinking of some ideas for summer.
So before you do that, before you get too far into this, because there's something that you said that I want to really pinpoint. You said if I would have planned ahead of time. So it goes into that theme that seems to be just about in every episode about being intentional, depending on whatever
Yes.
subject we're talking about. And you share with us a lot about just being intentional about our spiritual health. And, we've talked about our stress levels and, even being intentional with our friendships. We did quite a few episodes on friendships. So if we prepared ahead of time or thought it out ahead of time, that's really the key to whether we're going to make summer fun or not. Because I know both Christine and I have shared our experiences. It gets to the point where if you don't have something planned, now you're trying to figure something out. And just in the nature of having a lot more people around or home, you can get on each other's nerves more. So then you're trying to find things to do.
Yeah.
But if you're depleted and you're not taking care of yourself and you hadn't thought it out, now it's going to be more of a chore to figure out, what do I do to keep these kids
Yep.
entertained? And then the other
Yes.
thing is that because we're dealing with different household situations, my daughter, I have 5 kids. She's the only one left at home, but she doesn't go to school outside of the house. So my summer looks the same as any other time of the year, other than she wants to be outside more. But Christina has more kids that are home now through the summer. So she's
Yeah.
got the extra meals and all those things. And then you've got the single mom that might be working, that his kid is home. So we want to make sure that we are touching all bases depending on what family situation you find yourself in.
Right.
But it starts with being intentional. As much as we
Yes.
don't want to do something extra, especially in
Yeah.
an extreme situation, like we feel like we're doing everything extra,
Yeah.
but this will actually make things easier. So this
Right.
particular extra will make things easier for you. So that's what she's trying to talk about. She shared with you that she hadn't thought it out, really planned it out, but she did come up with some ideas that might help some other moms out there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what
And
I just want to make sure I shared that.
even if you don't have school-aged kids yet, and you've got, you know, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, or, you know, whatever that looks like, and you've got kids that are under school age, there is still a shift in summertime, especially if you live in places like Ohio and Michigan, like me and Deena do. If you live in an area where it's warm during the summertime, then that looks different for you. You're going to take your kids out to do more. You're going to, and so being intentional and preparing for that can make a difference of it being a chaotic outing and an enjoyable outing if you really plan for it. So we have started a Facebook group for Junk
Yes, we're
Drawer
very
Mamas
excited to
for our
announce that.
community. And so we're super excited about that. And so with this summer fun challenge that we're doing, we are going to put some posts out there for, you know, just some hashtags and some mom hacks that we can share with each other, because some people have been doing this longer than others, and some people just have found some great tools along the way and some great ideas that have just worked wonders and made a complete difference in whether it's their outing, whether it's things that, you know, just around the house, whether it's meals, whatever that looks like. You can help a mama out. You can help another mom just by posting some of the ideas in our group that could help the next mom. Whether maybe you're going swimming and there's just an awesome hack that you found that has been a game changer for you, and taking your kids out and has made your life so much easier or so much more enjoyable, that you could share with a mom.
So I
Things
like what you
that.
said about moms that have had more experience. Let me stop you there for again. So you have children in all age groups, out of the house, in the house, adults, and so do I. And we both have grandchildren. And I would say we do things differently now than we did when we first started
yeah.
parenting. There are things we've learned along the way that we didn't know in the beginning. But
Yeah.
there's things that I'm navigating through that I did not have to navigate through with my other 4 kids that I have to do with Gracie. So one of the
Right.
things that I do, so this is for those moms out there that are new to this and we're giving wisdom, but if you're a mom out there that has done this, you know, this is not your first rodeo, then please share your tips in the Facebook group or in the comments or whatever,
Yes.
what works for you that, you know, you struggled with, but now you found something. So for me, I am not a mom that can just leave the house without a backpack filled with stuff. So if you have a
Right.
special needs child like Gracie, she tends to have a lot of the same characteristics that somebody on the spectrum does. So she has to have headphones because of the loud noises or overstimulation. She still has daily accidents, so we have to have extra change of clothes. She still needs things to fidget with and play with. We need the tablet and all that kind of stuff to keep her busy if what we're trying to do doesn't work, you know, and sometimes I have to put snacks in there. And that's just kind of our little personal bug out bag. Like, you know, to say if there's an emergency,
Yes.
you have your little bug out bag. I have a Gracie bag because we just have to have all that. It doesn't matter if we're going to the grocery store or if we're going to the park for the day.
Right.
I could still have an accident at the grocery store. She could still have a meltdown in the grocery store. She could still need her headphones in the grocery store, or whether we're at a restaurant, or it could be a 5-minute trip or a 5-hour trip. I still have to have the bag. Now, I did not ever have to have a bag of anything with my other kids. And if they needed something, we would stop and get it. And they were very easy to manage. So then you also have this where you've got little kids and then you have older kids.
Yeah.
So some of the tips we might give you, or a mom out there that can share for little kids, is very different than what you would share for a teenager.
Right.
So if you
Exactly.
have little kids at home, and that's where it's really challenging. If you've got a teenager that might be an extreme situation, a behavior situation. How do you get your teen involved in wanting to do anything outside of just,
Right.
be on
Yes.
the phone with their friends or play video games or whatever?
Yeah.
So there's those kind of things too, depending on where you're at. Not every hack that we give you is going to apply to you, but we don't want you to feel like you're left out because you're not in that particular situation.
Yeah.
There might be another mom that can give you help on that. But I think the biggest part of it that we want to make sure we get across, regardless of what tips we give you, is obviously we're still trying to figure it out. You're not alone. We don't have it all figured out. And the other thing is, depending on what level age group you are, those hacks may not work for you. They may work for you, they may
Right.
not
Exactly.
work for you. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Grab the ones that you want.
Yes,
The
grab
ones
the
that will
ones
be
you want,
valuable to you.
and then,
Yes.
or pass this on to somebody else that can
Yep.
do that. So anyway,
Yes.
we just want to do
And,
that.
just because you're an experienced mom, I've been a mom for over 30 years, but I am new to parenting a little one with Down syndrome. Izzy's only 2. So this is still all new to me. This is our second, real summer going through all this with her. And we learned kind of early on that little ones with Down syndrome can overheat a lot easier. So we started packing a fan during the summertime. It's a must. She's tube fed, so she doesn't drink. So I'm always concerned about her staying hydrated because she doesn't drink. So there's things that are very different that just because you're an experienced mom, you might not be experienced to have a lot of experience in what you're walking through currently. Like Deena said, she had 5 kids and the first 4 looked completely different than the last one. So there was
They
things
look
she had
completely
to
different
learn.
from each
Right.
other, but at least
Right.
they were, they were very manageable. I'm not saying
Yeah.
we should manage our children, but I'm just
Right.
saying they didn't have any extreme extra stuff the way 𝗀𝗄𝗧 does. So we
Yes.
could just leave and it didn't matter whether they had anything. The boys in my family, even my husband, are very low maintenance when it comes to that. It's the
Yeah.
girls in my family that seem to need a lot of stuff.
Right.
And so anyway, 𝗀𝗀𝗧
Oh,
comes
yeah.
with a lot of extra everything. That extra chromosome came with a lot of extra stuff too.
Yes.
And so
It
I've just
does.
learned I can fight it or I could just go with it because I don't have that. It could literally be the difference between an enjoyable outing or,
Ending up back home.
ending up back home, or honestly being in a situation with an accident that you were not prepared for.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
I think that is the one thing I think if 30 years of parenting has taught me is to be prepared for anything at any, my church did this thing one time and I don't know, I think it was like at Easter or something. And it was this fun little game, like for all the moms. It must have been Mother's Day, and there was a prize for whoever had the most items that they named off in their purse. And I mean, they were saying all kinds of crap, all kinds of stuff. And one of them was a screwdriver. I had that. I even had a little hammer that had screwdrivers that
I have
mean,
one of
it's
those.
ridiculous.
I don't carry it
Right.
with me, but I
But I'm
have
like,
one.
I just happen to have it in my purse. But I mean, I had everything that they called off in my purse. I'm like,
Did you
are you
win the
kidding?
prize?
Yes, I won.
Gosh.
I believe, I don't know, I might not have won first place that time. I don't know. Anyways, regardless, I had way too much stuff in my bag, but I am prepared for almost everything now. It is very seldom that we leave the house not prepared. I will keep a bag in the vehicle,
Mhm.
whatever. You know how it is when
Right, we
you're
have
a
stuff
mom
in
for
our
very
vehicle
long,
too. We
you
have
prepare.
wipes in there. We have everything
Yep.
that we need. I'm like that when I travel, though. I have a lot of
Yes.
extra stuff. Christy and I have traveled together. We're both like that. So we have an extra amount of stuff in our luggage because
Yes.
we're those moms. Like, you never know if someone's going to need this.
Yes, exactly. If
Yeah.
you've parented for very long, you know the situations that you could run into. Most of the time we don't run into those situations,
Mhm.
but just in
It's the
case.
time you don't have it is when you wish you had it,
Right,
though.
right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yes, being prepared is definitely a mom thing.
So what happens when you're not prepared? So share a little bit too, why it's so important to prepare. It's not that we just want to give people a whole bunch of extra stuff to do, but
Right.
explain a little bit what happens when you're
Well,
not prepared. What are some of the choices that we end up making because we're not prepared?
honestly, I feel like it for sure, if it does nothing else, it causes a huge amount of stress. If it does absolutely nothing else, it is very stressful to need something and not have it when we're dealing with kids, especially special needs kiddos. But when you really need something for your kid and you don't have it and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Then it's automatically shoots your stress levels up.
Mhm.
So
When
that's
our
number
stress
one for
levels
me.
are up, then it affects the whole fun, intentional fun that
It
we're trying to
does.
have in the summertime
It
when
does.
we
And a
end
lot of
up
times,
looking at it through a negative lens.
right. So a lot of times then everybody starts getting irritable, grouchy with each other, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys forgot the sunblock. And it's everybody else's fault. No, nobody grabbed it. You know, whatever that looks like. So then everybody starts being more irritated, especially we're talking about summertime. Everybody's usually already hot and irritated. So it can literally take one thing to throw everybody off. It doesn't take a lot when everybody's already hot and already irritated. And, you know, there's always room for accidents and for forgetting stuff. And so one of the things we need to do just as Christians, as Jesus followers, is give grace. Not just give grace to our
This
kids.
is why I named my child Grace.
Right.
So I would
Not
remember
just
every
give
day
grace.
to give her grace.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, yeah. I need to remember that more.
Mm.
But we need to give grace to ourselves
Yeah.
too. Because a lot of times we're hardest on ourselves. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. That was so stupid. I cannot believe I did that. And, you know, we don't give ourselves a lot of grace, but we need to give grace in every situation. And, you know, backup plans are always good. Get yourself a backup plan. You know,
A
there's
backup
always
plan to the backup plan
to the backup plan. Right. I mean, if you've parented for very long, you know what could happen and what things could look like. So the other thing I think that we need to remind ourselves is when things do go to crap, and I guarantee they will go to crap sometime this summer for you, because they do usually daily for me. But when they do, when they go there,
She's
you know,
prepared
either
for the
way,
crap.
right? Either way, they are what they are. And your griping and your complaining and your negative talk is not going to change that. So,
That
you know,
actually
you
opens
can,
up a doorway to the enemy to come in and say, oh, you just
right,
gave me permission to make your day miserable.
right. And especially when we're complaining and griping at our kids,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, most of us do too often. Well, it's not something we're proud of, but when we start getting stressed out, then we take that out on the people around us. And what ends up happening is then our complaint and our irritation becomes their irritation. And then
Yes.
they start giving us what we're putting out.
Yeah, we've talked
And then
about
it
that for
frustrates us
sure.
even more. And it just becomes a big old mess. So remember, and this is something I'm telling myself too, remember to give yourself grace as well as your kids and your family, because all of us are human. So if we forget something and we're not planned for it quite as well as what we thought we should be, give yourself grace, have a plan B, or quickly, hey, as moms, we know we can quickly think of a plan B, C, D, E, whatever.
Right.
You know, we can go all the way down to all the way to the end of the alphabet if we need to. As moms, you know how to do that. So keep that in mind, that it does not always. And I've had a hard time with that when I have something in my head the way I think it's going to go, the way I think it should look, and it's going to look, and then it doesn't.
You just described my life, girl.
Right. I'm like, what the heck? I wanted this to be like this. And now it feels like such a letdown or so much disappointment. But let's face it, we can keep taking it that direction, or we can regroup and do what we've got to do to bounce back from it. And even in the most miserable situations, we can figure out a way to have fun. Yeah. Even if you get stuck in the mud and you don't end up getting to go on, where you were planning on going for the day, you can figure out a way to make that fun for your kids. But if we take it down that path and we become miserable, our kids are going to follow that lead. So we do need to keep that in mind.
There's something I want to add to that too, because you've got a barrage of different types of personalities and ages in your family. I just have Gracie right now. So it really only affects her and I if it's just her and I going to the zoo or whatever it is that we're doing. Or if my husband is able to join us, we still do things with our other kids as much as we can. But for the most part, my day-to-day is just Gracie and I. Yeah. So if we have to cancel it, the world didn't just end because I had to do that. But I do my very best not to tie a punishment to her behavior if we've got something planned, because then it does ruin the plans for everybody else. So I know that's a big challenge when you have other kids and somebody's upset. So again, we were saying if we first are managing ourselves, then we're not putting that frequency out there, because then our kids are now upset because we're upset. And then now they're the ones that actually get punished because they just gave you an attitude or a bad behavior. And now everybody's, okay, that's it. We're not going to the zoo. Well, then you know who gets punished? The mom. Because now she's got to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with all these kids? We just said we were going to go to the zoo. So this is one of those things that I've learned. I'm not saying it's not a tip that, that you can take. Remember what we said. This might not work for you. For me, I try to keep the consequences natural to whatever it was that she did and not you've just lost the privilege, because that doesn't work, because then she'll end up having a bigger temper tantrum. And I do my very best to keep the peace, because that's what works for us. We certainly consequence her, but that usually doesn't work as much as trying to distract her. So I do my best to distract her from whatever it is that's causing the behavior issues, or we will tie it to, you have a choice. You can do this or this.
Yeah.
If you do the right thing, then we'll do this. So then you add another layer to that as a reward if they give you good behavior. So for her, she's definitely more reward driven than she is punishment driven.
All of us are, I think.
Right. But when you have a household where you've got typical kids and you've got special needs kids, now again, we're in any way not trying to offend or anything by saying the wrong term. When we say typical kids, we just mean kids that don't have any extra high needs or special needs. We're not in any way trying to hurt anyone's feelings. We really honestly would just like to do away with all these labels and just, we're all the same tribe. We're all mamas trying to raise our kids, whatever it is that they are going through. But we say typical versus special needs. So when you have a family where you've got a mixture of that, well, let's say it's the special needs child that is giving you a hard time. And now the rest of the kids have to suffer because that child just gave you, that's the way it is with Gracie. So, you know, like a lot of times things didn't go the way we planned it because she's the one that's got the bad behavior. And now the other kids are suffering
kind of punished for that.
Right. So
yeah, and you've got to be
try
very
to come
careful.
up with some ideas where it's not tied to that. It's not tied to that's it. We're going home. We're done. You know, that's because if we get to that place where we are saying, I'm done, it's over, then we didn't manage ourselves. We are responding out of anger. And Christina and I talked about this yesterday where, you know, you get to that place where you feel like I've just had it, but you do want to get to a place that no matter what that child does, it doesn't affect you. Their behavior does not affect your behavior. Their behavior, whether it's good or bad, is not affecting your choices. So that gives them the freedom to, especially if you have a child that is dealing with a traumatic situation like she deals with in foster care, you know, we don't know what they're going through. So we can't be reacting to every time a child has a behavior issue. Especially if you're out in public and you've got this whole event planned and this child, you know, is triggered by something and now they're having a meltdown. We've got to be able to not let that affect us. We talked a lot about that yesterday. It is something we do struggle with, but the more you manage yourself, the more you care for your own well-being, the less likely that is going to trigger you. And now, like you said, I'm done. Everybody's going home. You know, because we don't want to, every time Gracie and my husband are playing a game and she gets to where she's either controlling it or not cooperating and he says, okay, we're going to be done. I'm like, no, we're not done, because then that means I got to take her. Right now you're playing. And I said, Gracie, you're going to ruin this for everybody. You need to behave or you need to listen or whatever that is. I don't want her to not be playing the game because that's a breakaway from what I had to do with her. And also, she does need to learn to be able to pull her behavior back. They have to have a chance to make it right, not just be consequenced because they were bad or had bad behavior. I'm sorry. There's no kid that's bad. I don't want anybody no comments saying no kids are bad. We always call it red choices, green choices. In our house, that just makes it a lot easier. She knows red choices are stop what you're doing. Green are do more of that. Go. Those are good. So anyway. So I just wanted to put that in there when you were talking about.
One of the things that you have to be careful for too, if you are a large family, or even multiple, even if there's 3 kids, if there's one child's behavior that always seems to be affecting the other kids, if you can't figure that out as the adult, then you can end up having kids that resent the one that keeps causing the issue. Because the kids have to deal with that. If the parent can't figure it out and can't deal with it, then you're going to have kids that resent the other one. Like, that's not fair. We don't ever get to do anything because of them. And it's just going to build up resentment. So, you know,
you're saying it's our responsibility to manage that, not our kids.
Exactly. We shouldn't all be like, well, they did it again, so now everybody's got to go. That it's not a good and I think sometimes as parents you think, well, they'll stop doing it if everybody's upset with them. I don't think there's a lot of wisdom in doing it like that, because then you just end up with a lot of kids that resent the one child for always ruining it, or, you know, it can look like that. So be very mindful of that. Even if there is one child that is always kind of causing that, figure out how to maybe remove them from the situation or take them aside, whether that means that, you know,
you might have to even do something different with them. Like, let's say you're in a whole group setting and you're at the beach or the zoo or park or whatever. I do this a lot with Gracie. This is the reason why I'm saying this, is that we may have to, now, let me preface that with, I'm not saying this is my favorite thing to do, because again, if I'm putting myself first, then this isn't going to work. If I just understand that it's about the well-being of her, I've done these things before. It doesn't have to be about me, but in a family setting where there's a group of us, I will take her aside and I will play with her. I will do something with her. Now, she doesn't always want that. She does usually want the other kids or the other family members, but if it's so out of control, I have to, again, it's part of my little bug out bag with her. I have all these extra games and things, and there are certain things, for the most part, that I can get her to say yes to, some of her favorite things to do, that I can pull her away from that situation that is now starting to get out of control, and the other family members can go off and play their games or do whatever.
Yes.
I've got to take responsibility for that. Now, I don't necessarily have to do it. I'm not the only one that does that. My husband can do it, or my other kids can do that, but it tends to be me more often than not, because I'm mindful of it. I'm the one that can see, okay, we need to get her out of the situation because it's no longer fun, you know? And so that's just, I think moms wear that role more than anyone else. My oldest son, Tommy, bless his heart, he's in the Marines right now and he's living in Hawaii, but when he's home, Gracie absolutely loves him, and he is so good with her. He's one of those people that Gracie will do whatever he asks because he's just very good with her. I wish I had Tommy in my pocket all the time. So if you're listening, Tommy, thank you for all the times that you have rescued us with Gracie. Anyway, so I know you've got those same kids in your house that you can count on that will pull that child aside and just do something different without disrupting the whole thing.
To try to help redirect them before we crash and burn.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, when you've got multiple kids, you're going to have a kid that does not cooperate quite as well as maybe the other kids do. Every home has it. And it might be more, you might have two that don't agree and the other one does. So you might have multiple of those kiddos. Whatever that looks like, just be very mindful to not let it run everybody else's day out or fun that they're having. Try to figure out ways, or like Deena said, have a bug out bag. Take something that, hey, if they end up getting themselves in trouble, they can sit next to you and have this to do so the other kids can still enjoy their day. Because not only is it not fair, but again, it can cause resentment. Like they ruined it again. Whereas if you have something in your back pocket and you've got a way to deal with that, then it's kind of a win-win. It's a win-win for you. You've still got the one kiddo next to you, and no, they might not be able to do what the other kids are doing because of their behavior, but they still have something that they can enjoy and keep themselves busy with. And
also let them do that, because that's the other thing. A lot of times as parents, we want to include them. And with Gracie, if I get her doing some little activity by herself, she's fine. Just leave her be. But everybody wants to have her, come on, Gracie, come on, let's play. And I'm like, no, don't poke the bear. She's fine. She's calm. Don't do anything to upset her. You know, and so like, if she's fine being by herself, sometimes she doesn't want to participate. Sometimes she just likes to observe. You know, sometimes she likes to control the whole atmosphere, but it depends. But if she's calm and she's doing her own thing, we don't always have to have them doing everything everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Whatever
that
keeps the peace in your household is the best thing.
That makes me think of what my husband always says to our older girls, because, you know, we got some older girls and they like to pick up the babies, you know, the 1 and 2 year olds, you know, they like to come and pick them up. And my husband's like, they're being good. They're sitting there. They're behaving. They're playing.
Yes.
Don't pick them up. Just leave them alone and let them be. Because as soon as you're done holding them, you're going to set them down, walk away, and they're going to cry.
About the cat. Gracie, leave her alone. She's sleeping. Don't touch the cat. And all of a sudden, now someone's crying. She's crying because the cat scratched her. Yeah, leave her alone. Don't touch her.
Yes, don't poke the bear.
Don't poke the bear.
There you go.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end here, and I just wanted to wrap this up a little bit and kind of tell you a little bit more what we plan on doing. Actually, I'm going to let Christina talk about that because she had some really great ideas. We're going to put into the Facebook group. We're going to do some specific hashtags for that. So we've got hashtag Summer Fun Challenge. We're always going to have hashtag Junk Drawer Mamas. But you were saying mom hacks and things like that.
Yes,
so,
help a mama out.
Yep, help a mama out.
We all need help.
Yeah,
we all need.
Some of the things.
Some of the young mamas, like, you know, our oldest daughter that has her grandbabies, there's things that they know that we're like, whoa, okay, yeah, blow your mind, because we never would have thought of that. You know, when we're parenting from a different generation, right? So it's not like just the older mamas can help the younger mamas. It is equal. It is equal playing field, because they know of some things that we don't know.
And there's so many more gadgets and things that we didn't have raising our kids that are now really great time savers or helpful tips or whatever that is. We can even have our own baby bug out bag list of to-dos, list of things that you could put in. What are some things that work for your kids? You know, so.
Yep.
Just share the goods, ladies. Share the goods. And men, if a men's watching, mamas and daddies. Share the goods that help you, help us to help you, all those things. All those things. You know, and so next episode, because we've talked a little bit about, we talked a lot about, you know, what we're going to be doing this summer. Honestly, we want to make sure that we get to the end of the summer and we have just spent the summer completely enjoying and having fun and not saying, I cannot wait for you to go back to school. Like you're almost like, oh my gosh, I'm sad summer's over. I really want it to be. We don't want our kids to feel like a burden to us like that ever. And if we're not careful and we are in that state of overwhelm, they're going to feel it. They're going to know it. And it's going to affect them. Yeah. And so some of the tips that we're going to share that you were talking about was healthy snacks, cooking, and all that. And that really led us into the next episode that we're going to be talking about is food behaviors, food issues that we have, especially with special needs child. Sometimes you have a child that will really only eat one food or dealing with somebody that is a picky eater. And that can be very stressful. I'm not even trying to lie. That is a huge issue in my house. And I'm not saying I've done it right. I have not. I have given in more times than I should not. And now I've got consequences to it. I have a child that is overweight because I gave in too much, child that has behavior issues. But then you get to the point, like, I don't know what else to do because she just won't eat this or eat that or do this. So that's one of those junk drawer items. Like, my gosh, I hope I'm not the only mom out there that is totally screwed up when it comes to food with their kids. You're not. But this could also tie into the summer so that we can make healthy summer snacks, healthy choices. Again, it's about being intentional. It's about taking that extra time. I know we have extra lives, extra big stuff going on in our lives, but these are those extra things that will actually save you time and energy. And this is one of those things that we will need help from other moms to help us. How did you transition your kid from dealing with being a picky eater? Because please tell me, email me, let me know, call me. I'll give you my phone number. Tell me what you did that works because I can't
help a mama out.
Help a mama out. You know, and so that we could really transition into giving our kids the best nourishing food so that they're thriving, especially with a special needs child. If they're eating dyes and processed stuff, I know for us, it really does affect behavior and it affects the stress level in our house and all of that. So we're going to be talking about that next time. So again, we're super excited about the new Facebook group and the Summer Fun Challenge. And we hope that you guys are all going to get involved and share the goods, help a mama out, like you said. So anyway, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And we cannot wait to be back again. So have an awesome week. Bye. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us and listening to the Junk Drawer Mamas podcast. If today's episode encouraged you, share it with a mom who could use a little extra love and support. We'd love to hear from you too. Leave us a review and let us know what you think or send us your ideas for what you want us to tackle in the junk drawer. You can email us anytime at junkdrawermamas@gmail.com. Stay connected with us on social media. Follow Deena at Specially Empowered Moms and Christina at Faith Through Foster Care for more encouragement and updates on our upcoming books. From two mamas in the throes of extreme parenting, we want you to know that you're doing a great job, mama, and you don't have to have it all together. But what's hidden can't be healed, so let's keep sorting through it together, one step, one story, and one laugh at a time. See you next time when we tackle another item in the junk drawer of life. Have an awesome week.